Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are brand new here, I'm FiddlinJonny and this is my fiddle channel and magic product review. And before we do any magic product review, we do a quick fiddle tune. Now this is one that I wrote myself going back many years ago. It's a little bit of a sort of Cajun inspired tune, and I'm always playing around with this idea. So let's get into it. Alright, well, that's just a brief snippet of that fiddle tune, but I know you're really here for the magic product review. And today I am reviewing an instant download. Now if you go to other channels or podcasts, a lot of them think the download is dead. I am not in that camp. Always interested in downloads. I think you can find some great value there and some classics. So I'm reviewing The Third Eye Project by Radek Hoffman. Stick around, we'll get right into this review. Hello everyone, alright, let's get right into Third Eye or Third Eye System by Radek Hoffman. And let's talk about what is it? It is, well, it's a couple things. You are going to learn how to make your own peak device using either billets, business cards, or envelopes. And in addition to that, you are going to get 2 full routines that you will be able to see in the tutorial performed in front of a real audience in a small stage or parlor setting. Okay, so you're going to get these wonderful routines along with how to make your peak device with either those different materials. Let's talk about a little bit about peak devices. So, because that's what you're getting here is a peak device. I love peak devices, okay? I just do. And I always feel like I still haven't found like my perfect Goldilocks peak device yet. I definitely like this one. And I feel like with peak devices, different settings sort of require, or what your set of circumstances, some peak devices are better depending on what your set of circumstances are. I do feel like this is probably pretty good when you're doing the business cards, specifically the business cards, or billets, as a great everyday carry. Seems organic. Someone asks you to do something, you go, I don't got anything on me. Oh, I've got my business cards, and you can start performing with your business cards. So it's nice in that respect. One of the things that I think really makes it nice. But let's talk about, if you don't know what a peak device is and what am I talking about, and if you're relatively new to mentalism, a peak device allows you to have your spectator write something down on a piece of paper and then return it to something, whether it's a wallet, an envelope, or back into the stack of cards. And then it's set aside. And from there, you are able to divine or know exactly what they've written down on that piece of paper. And of course, you will pretend to read their mind. It will appear as if you have real mind reading abilities and you're able to reveal their object. The peak device allows you to do that. So, and of course, routining is really important, in my opinion, with peak devices, so that you can maximize the effect that you are a real true mind reader when you're doing these. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to get. It's an instant download. They're not going to mail you anything. You're not getting any physical product. It is purely a download. The instant download is 1 hour and 36 minutes in length. And for me, for an instant download, that's great because that's longer than a lot of instant downloads that are out there. The instant download basically gives you access to an unlisted YouTube channel where you're going to be able to go and watch it. I think when I talk about what are you going to get, you're going to get, obviously, what is the method? You're going to get how to build and construct your gimmicks or your utility device, really. And then you're going to get these routines to choose from and how to perform them. But for me, sort of the most important thing on this was the level of detail related to the subtleties on the choreography of how to manage and handle your peak device. So I'm going to mostly focus on the billets because that's the peak device that I created from this tutorial. But I thought personally that was where some of the gold was in this release. In case you're wondering, like, since they don't send you anything, do I need anything? Well, you can use your business cards if you want to. You can use billets or envelopes. You'll need to provide those yourself. You'll need to provide a pair of scissors or like a, what do you call those things? Like a razor blade knife. You're going to need to cut some of your cards up a bit. And so glue, scissors, something sharp. And you're good to go along with your billets, and you can create it. So not included, you'll need to provide those. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how are the instructions here. Now, they look fine. Radek looks like he's sitting on a couch or a futon with a table in front of him, and he's going to walk through what the method is, show you how to build and construct your utility device, and then you're going to see his performance, and he'll talk about the subtleties of his performance and the choreography that you'll use during the routines. I found on the instructions that Radek's really good. It's clear that he's a natural teacher, and I'm just going to assume from what I can see is that he must teach magic somewhere because he just seems to be a real natural at teaching magic. I'll go back and repeat myself again, but the level of detail in this was superb, was really good. I really appreciated that. The one place I think like maybe I didn't see as much detail as I would really like, but it's, you know, it doesn't really matter, was he walks through building the device. And I would have loved to see him maybe build his entire device. That of course would have made it longer, and maybe a lot of people are like, did I really need that? You told me what I need to cut out and what I need to glue. It's pretty obvious from that point. So, but part of me goes like, oh, I'd love to see him actually building the device, but it really doesn't matter. There's no sort of like super precision here in terms of your engineering and making your device. If you know how to operate a pair of scissors or a sharp object to cut paper, you can do this. But again, when I'm talking about what did I liked all the subtleties and the detail, and that was the one piece. It would have been cool if there was a little bit more, but not a deal breaker there. I do appreciate on the instructions that Radek spends the time to make sure to give crediting where crediting is due. And just to give you a window into this method, is that it's a classic method. If you've ever read Animan, if you're familiar with Bob Cassidy's work, you'll know what the method is here. Now, he has taken the method and updated, made some changes to it, has truly made it his own, and especially around the handling is specifically his own. But I do appreciate that the crediting is there, and I wish every release did a better job on that part of it. So obviously you're going to get the instructions. You're going to have to make the peak device yourself. When it comes to making the peak device, I didn't see this in any ad copy, but I'm sure people will ask how long does it take? And a typical response might be like, in no time, because it's so easy you'll be able to make it. That's true, but how much time does it take? It took me probably 45 minutes to build it, maybe an hour. I actually built it over, because I got bored, over the course of 2 evenings. And, you know, it probably took me maybe about 45 minutes tops to make it. I was really working to be super precise. And in the end, it's like, yeah, you don't have to be super precise so that my cuts all look perfect. It still works. So, in fact, this is the peak device that I made sitting here right in front of you. But that's how long, if you're curious, how long will it take for you to make it? That's how long it took me to make, and was easy to make. It's just the time it takes to make it. And then once you've made it, it's done. You never need to remake it again until it gets old and grubby and dingy, and you'll probably want to make a new one. Let's talk about the gimmick itself. So it's a classic gimmick, and I mean classic, it's a method in which you need to get a peak, right? And it's a peak method that's been used, and again, like I'm reference Animan and Cassidy as two folks. If you're familiar with them, it's right in line with that. So what that is it's tried and true. It is something that mentalists have been using forever. professional mentalists have been using forever. So, and I do like that since you make your own, you custom it to like which piece of paper you like to use better than others. You use envelopes that are to your preference, that sort of thing. Radek does go through a portion of the type of paper that he uses from the billet perspective and why he likes that style of paper. I don't use the style of paper that he uses, but it doesn't matter. Works great. So, but he has a good rationale for the type of paper that he uses for his billet portion of it. So anyway, I guess that all goes to say is that you get his perspective for a method that he's been using for a while, and the subtleties of like detailed as like, why do I use this paper? Why do I bend certain things a certain way? So I don't want to reveal a bunch, but there's a lot of subtlety here. It's the sort of thing that I'm going to give advice here. If you are a mentalist who's been performing for a long time, you're going to go like, I'm pretty sure that's the method. And yes, you're right. In terms of when you peek into the window of how these things are done, you know exactly how it's done. But I think what was, and you probably won't be interested, to be honest. If you're newer into mentalism, if you're new into wanting different peak style of devices, I think you're going to be very interested in this. And I think especially for more of the novice, that the real value in this is that I think it puts you ahead of other folks who are just starting. Because what happens with peak devices is that you learn through trial and error, just like, oh, it was better when I moved my set of cards this way, or that I have to be careful about not accidentally flashing at certain points. And I thought that the level of detail on here sort of helped people to advance past those, because he talks about those sorts of things in a level of detail that I think maybe previous releases I haven't seen, or sometimes you're just not going to get when you're reading a book. So I really appreciated those aspects of it. Okay, so it's a good solid gimmick with a classic method with a lot of subtleties in the tutorial that sort of help you out there. I usually like to talk about what the skill level is here, and I have sort of a tiered system here. The skill level for building the gimmick, easy, simple, just need the time. If you know how to cut, you can do this. If you know how to glue, you can do this. But the performance end is a little different for me in that there's two levels here. It is beginner, and I would highly recommend this for the beginning mentalist looking for peak devices. I think you're going to get the most value out of this release. But I think you can go out and start performing it right away. But I think after 100 performances is when you start to go, all right, now I'm getting the pace on this in terms of getting it to a level where it'll be just as good as maybe any working professional mentalist out there. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So I think, what are the things that I wish I'd known before I purchased this? I think I've mentioned most of those things. In that great detail, a lot of subtlety. You'll make it yourself. It's easy to make. I think it's a nice peak device that you don't have to worry about lighting conditions. The peak area is big. You can get more than one piece of information on there if you like. You don't have lots of angle issues on it. And let me back up for a second in terms of peak devices. And I think I started off the review with this, is that I don't think there's a perfect peak device out there. All of them have some sort of pros and cons. For this, and I think sort of the cons for a lot of them, if you're brand new with peak devices and you see a trailer and they make it look so easy, like you got 1/100th of a second that you look at your peak and you've immediately got it. I think that's a little bit of a fabrication with any peak device, is that there's so many different variables. If your spectator has written down whatever they've written down on that piece of paper and it's not easy to understand or read, it makes it a little bit more challenging. So that's where, like, how do you give instructions? Did they write it down on the proper portion of the paper so that you can see it when you need to get the peak? Are your lighting conditions just right? Did you use the right kind of pen? Have you structured it in a way so that you're allowing yourself enough time to get the peak without it being obvious that you're getting a peak? Or are there subtleties that you can add that people will not be able to reverse engineer that somehow you were able to get a peek at it? So those are all the things that are really important. And I found this peak device to be better than some of my wallet peak devices, quite honestly. A little more fooling and felt more natural for me to use rather than having them put something in one of the peak wallets that I have. I have peak wallets that I love and are part of my everyday carry. So, but all of them have sort of their pros and cons. So if you're brand new, don't anticipate like, oh, you're going to go out of your mind like this is the best ever, because I don't feel that way about any peak device, quite frankly. But this one is very versatile, usable, and at any level, I think you'll like it. All right, who's really going to like it? I think if you're a mentalist who likes everyday carry, easy to carry around with you in your pocket. I think you're going to like it in that respect. And I think it works for just about any performance environment, from informal to formal, from walk around, table hopping, close up, parlor, stage. It works in all of those settings, so it's great in that respect. The cost on this in the United States is $24.99. So I think that cost for an hour and 36 minutes in tutorial is a reasonable cost for this download. Where can you get it? It is distributed through Murphy's Magic as part of their Bro Gilbert's from the Vault series. So you can find it at any Murphy's Magic retailer. I know you can also find it at Vanishing Ink. Has it prominently there as well. So those are some of the places in which you can purchase this as an instant download. All right, I hope that was helpful. I really like this peak device. It's one that I actually will use, and I hope the review is helpful for you. If you use a peak device, let me know what your favorite peak device is down in the comments. Also, if you don't have any peak devices, just say hello. Leave me a comment. I always like engaging with you guys out there. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. And please hit that like button. It really does help the channel. All right. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm FiddlinJonny. And remember to keep fiddling around with your magic. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.